City of Houston meeting. And the first item on that is to approve the minutes from the April 24th meeting, and that's found under the red tab number 1. So after, well, the minutes, yes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. I'd like to suspend the reinvestment zone number 16, City of Houston, Texas meeting, and call to order the Uptown Development Authority meeting. First order of business is to approve the minutes of that meeting with the April 24th. That's green tab 1, page 1.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That the minutes are approved. Are there any comments or questions from the public?
None were reported.
Thank you. Next item of business is to review the quarterly investment report, which is tab 2, page 5, and Shannon Daniels will take care of that for us. Where's Shannon?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first page of this report for the reporting period of January 2019 through March 31st, 2019, we kind of outlined by the different funds. The first section, the Capital Project Fund, we have funds with Capital One Bank at the end of the reporting period, just over $730,000. With Regions Bank, we had just under $600,000. Those funds that we held with the trustee and the infrastructure fund at the end of the reporting period was just over $48.5 million. And then lastly, the affordable housing funds, we had roughly $1.2 million. These are the balances. The activity in the account for that period is basically paying project costs. March, we would have paid debt service interest out on our bond funds, and that is about it. Page 2 of the report kind of speaks to the pledge collateral required for those funds that are in deposit accounts, which would be the Capital One Bank account and the Regions Bank account. We are required to have collateral. And you see here the collateral that we have pledged against that. Those collateral pledges are in alliance with our investment policy. They are mainly government agencies that are approved through our investment policy. With our trustee, the Bank of New York Mellon, we had just over $49 million. That is $42 million in their approved project, excuse me, an approved money market fund, which is a prime cash management fund, which invests in treasuries and short-term securities. So that again is approved in our investment report. We also had just over $7.7 million with our Regions investment account. And again, those are investment in short-term treasuries and agencies, all approved within the investment account. So we are either sufficiently collateralized or we are invested in approved investments. That middle section speaks to compliance issues. The investment officer is required to have training every 2 years. The next due for training is in 2020, and we are in compliance there. Are there questions or concerns regarding the investment report for January through March 31st, 2019?
John, briefly, could you tell us what that training is?
It is 2 splendid days spent in highly desirable locations like North Houston. And but basically we go over a lot of the state legislation and the requirements, and then speak to very basics of investments and things like that.
Thank you.
Was that a test?
No, I was just, we got the information, you've done it, I was just curious at exactly what it consisted of. Let's see, I think the next item, we have no questions on the quarterly investment reports, are the reviewing of invoices and the motion requested for approval, and that's on page 7 of tab 2.
Okay, thank you. These are the invoices that are being submitted for approval this month. The first page, we have some reimbursements to the district, for TIRZ costs. It's usually for administrative costs for staff and office. This time of year, we also have annual reimbursements for traffic management information program, as well as the construction management program and the POB marketing program. That's why you see approximately $600,000 more going into reimbursement to the district.
Shannon, so this is for funds that have been expended throughout the year. You're now funding and catching up with
And
what the
yes,
districts.
and we have them reimburse the district toward the end of the year, but you're absolutely right. These are funds that have been expended on these programs throughout the year for the benefit of the Development Authority. That middle section, these are the district requesting reimbursements for the consultants that support the Post Oak Boulevard project. For the month, it was approximately $233,000. The second page for our invoice roster, you see we have roughly $160,000 of invoices exclusively with the contracted with the Development Authority. The total of those three reimbursement requests is just over $1.1 million. And then lastly, the section is those contract payments that the board approved the contract, and this is just for your information, the payments. You have work on the north, middle, and south segments of the boulevard. We also have Weber Construction, that's two payments in this particular $2.4 million for construction on the transit center. And we have the retainage payment to Fuse, Landscape Art, and ISI for the finishing up of the Eastern Glades Phase 1 with Memorial Park. So those are the final payments, final retainage and closeout. All in all, that totals $6.2 million in invoices and/or contract payments that we're requesting your approval of. Pages 9 and 10, this gives a little bit, 9 through 12, this gives a little bit more information about the particular services that each vendor is billing for. Are there questions or concerns regarding the invoices for your approval?
Concerned about your voice.
That's
I
what I was
know,
gonna
right?
say.
I
I
know.
don't want you.
I sound worse than I feel, but thank you.
I had a lemon.
I have a little lemon
So
something in
funny.
here, yeah. No, hot toddy, I was kidding.
Oh, that's better.
No, just
Good
kidding.
girl. Atta girl.
If the physicians are finished, shall we, I'd like a motion for approval of the invoices, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so the invoices are all approved. Shannon, you can just nod your head that you.
Thank you.
The final thing, is on page 13, tab 2, the final thing for Shannon is the MWDE report.
Okay, thank
So if
you.
could give us that briefly, please.
The MWDE report that we were reporting here, we do it cumulative. The top half is for cumulative from beginning till now. That's 38% professional with a 24% goal. Construction over the years, we're at an average of 21% with a 17% goal. The bottom half of this summary page is that's just for this current fiscal year. You can see that for the fiscal year, we're at 60% for our professional services, and we're at 20% for our construction services. And I will note that we have included the DBEs that are working on the Weber contract. So that went up from like 17%, if you recall, from last month to 20%. So we're catching up, putting that information into the calculation.
Can we ever get in trouble for having too much?
I know the 60%. I don't know that you get any trouble for having too much.
Well, that's probably not the right word, but.
No. You're fine.
I think the reality is that,
Harvard grad law.
you know,
That's right. You're fine.
if you didn't have highly performing firms doing that work, that number wouldn't be that high. I mean,
Right.
and so if our goal is somewhere in the 20s, and we simply have some very good firms that meet this criteria and that we have used.
On our, yeah.
Proven to be very effective.
Mhm.
Let me make the observation, John, that on our component of, and I'm just ahead of you a little bit,
Let's
on
go
page
ahead.
18, just shows the breakdown, that our women category is kind of remained the same or pretty much gone down over the course of the year. And And just trying to find great contractors in all categories, I think is important, but especially as we look at one particular group that's really not doing that well, we can be extra sensitive to that.
And I'll have to go back and look and see who that is. It may be a trail off of like, the design phase, I don't know. I
Cause
don't know who's in it.
RDLR is
Yes, and they were doing
women-owned.
the UTC, is that right? I don't know who's in here that does that, but I think they had a big hand in design phase of the transit center, and as those costs fell off and we're now into construction, you've probably seen that fall
But
off.
just a
in
good point,
design.
I mean, we attempt to be proactive and seek
Yeah,
and
well, I'm
search.
really proud of our leadership.
And I would take your comments as incentive to continue to be proactive and seek.
So I have another question, I'm not sure how to ask this. Joe? Huh? So it looks like the largest segment in recent years is the Asian population,
Yes.
correct? So everybody's US citizens, right? All
Yes,
that shit.
yes, and this is, you know, I mean, you see the invoices, so it's no surprise, but primarily, the Gunda Corporation has been our lead civil design engineer for the Post Oak Boulevard project and a lot of good projects. They're a great firm and they're DBE, and so that's what you see reflected there.
I go back with them probably 25 years. That's when they were first into the business and trying to do work with the city of Houston, Lisa, and they did a great job back then when they were young and starting. They're not still young, but certainly they've earned their stripes and did a great job, as mentioned.
Awesome, thank you.
Any more questions, concerns, comments?
Okay, there's nothing to approve here, so if there are no questions or comments, I'd like to reconvene an executive session pursuant to the provisions of Texas Government Code, section 55.072, to discuss real estate matters.
Did you need a motion or what is it? Okay.
I just want to be sure that,
Yeah, everybody's attention.
we're looking for a motion to approve the settlement agreement. And a
The two that we're
second.
talking.
Okay. All in favor of the settlement agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none opposed, so that passes. The next item of business is to receive an update on projects, and John, you and Tavi have that.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, there are a couple of members that have a very hard stop and may have to excuse, as well as Judson. We don't have any more actions. If we lose quorum, we are out of a meeting. We can continue visiting about this if we have to. Stephen, is that okay, what I said?
It's okay. As a matter of
Okay.
fact, it's no longer illegal. At one point it was, but the Texas Supreme Court said it's not, so.
Okay. If you
If you lose a quorum,
You can continue, you can't take action, but you can
We can
continue.
talk, or listen even better.
I mean, I'm not
Okay.
saying necessarily.
I don't know why they had a case on that.
all right.
Walking forum.
Mr. Chairman, a couple things. We're going to give you a very quick briefing on what's going on with Memorial Park, and particularly our contracting, how we're going forward for the design development phase of the project. And Andrew Jerrig, our project manager for that project, is going to give you a little update. I'll push the button if that's okay with you.
So we're in the design development phase, which we call DD, and I'll try to be real brief. We've got 70.4 million to spend, 30 million's coming from UDA, 40.4 from MPC. So we've signed an MOU with Memorial Park Conservancy.
If you use abbreviations one more time, somebody's going to shoot you.
Uptown.
The Uptown Development Authority,
Yep.
Memorial Park Conservancy,
Right.
and a memorandum of understanding.
Which
That's
this
right.
board approved at its previous meeting.
Yes, you have.
So the memorandum of understanding allows us to hold the contracts. So Uptown will be holding the contracts. Memorial Park Conservancy will be sending funds to Shannon, and then Shannon will be paying the bills. The proration will be 43% Uptown, 57% Memorial Park. Soft cost, design team work authorizations, we currently spent 2.7 million. We're looking at spending between the the design development phase and the construction administration phase, about 4.7 million. Construction management, inspection, testing, about 3.36 million. Total soft cost 10.8, you'll notice that that's exactly 20% of 54 million, with the contingency of 5.6, and then a total tying us back to 7.4 million.
Key things here, again, is that this has been, we are partners with the Memorial Park Conservancy. Their funding is coming primarily through the Kinder Foundation, and we will hold the contracts, and we'll be the administrators for the project. And
Well, I think it's important to point out that although we're performing these services for them, we don't have any liability in terms of if they don't pay, we have to. It's a separate obligation. Or at least that's my understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's certainly our intention. But we were better equipped, for example, to pay the bills on a large project like this than they were.
So on the design development phase coming up, which starts now and will end in early October of this year, the GUNDA will be the prime consultant. They'll have civil project management, and they've got a hard lump sum bid to us, $834,945. And then his subcontractors, $579,900. So we'll spend about 1.4 in this phase going forward. Here's a list of the, go ahead.
This phase, the, time frame that we're looking at is more or less, takes us to when?
October of 2019.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Here's a list of the consultants. The main one is the MBW, who's done the 10-year master plan. Their cost, and again, this is for the design development phases.
from this, when will bids be taken?
For GCs or for construction or?
I probably asked the question, I didn't think you'd take it. Bottom line is, we're gonna do design. We may have a general contractor pick for that. But it is our intent to competitively bid and have construction underway by,
The middle of 2020.
okay. Just wanted to give, and the other question is, Andrew, can you define geomorphology?
That's basically what happens.
I didn't really want to.
What happens when a channel over time moves? So there's actually experts in that actually tell you what happens when the bayous move and everything. Took the bait.
So there's still more costs to come.
So this is this design, and then there's construction and construction management and all that. So it's a $70 million project. This is the first 1.4, well, we've already spent 2.7 for both the MPC and Uptown together. And then another 1.4 to design, and then we'll be getting into construction.
Do we still have, lost what her name is?
Sarah?
Sarah's on your.
Sarah is now working for the Kinders, and Andrew is a much less good-looking replacement to Sarah.
Is there a board?
And Andrew Rich's background has been in construction management for things as interesting as pipelines and other major physical facilities.
Power plants, you know. And then we got one more slide up.
Do we? All right, sorry about that.
So our big milestones coming up, we're gonna reprice and make sure the 54 million hard cost is right. August, once we get a little bit more of design underway, so, and then we'll complete design in September, or October of 2019. So those are the big upcoming thing. The big nice thing that we just had happen was with our Corps permit, United States Army Corps of Engineers, they gave us a very favorable jurisdiction determination this week. So that means our permitting process has been greatly reduced. Still have a little bit, but in comparison,
Would you share with the group how much money was spent to get that?
I would say less than $50,000.
But still,
And what
quite a
is,
lot of money, even though they were favorably disposed.
Right.
This is public park, et cetera.
And we will spend more getting that favorable review turned into a permit.
That's right.
We'll spend more as well.
and what
And
is
that's
the,
just
that
what
But let me
favorable
make
review?
it clear, these are funds for consultants, et cetera, these are not
Yeah.
payments to.
To the Army Corps of
To the Army
Engineers?
Corps of Engineers, or any person who works for it.
Not that we know.
Wasn't under-
The support
Uh,
documentation.
When does that, and then that means, we'll be having the, opening ceremonies in October of 2022?
October 2022 looks
You have a
very
date?
good. October 15th, whatever the third weekend is.
So, is it true that this pro golf tournament is gonna be held there?
Yes.
Yes.
And that's when?
They will begin, they are rebuilding the course as we speak, and hope to have it ready to play in the fall of this fall.
That's right.
And
So first
actually have,
mock tournament this fall and then the real one.
Yeah, real tournament 2020.
that's exactly what I was saying.
Yes.
2020.
It's gonna be ready to play a year before you hold a tournament, and it's ready to play in 2019 and hold a tournament in 2020.
Fantastic.
And that big mound of dirt is what?
That's 60,000 cubic yards of dirt that we're bringing from the lake, eastern phase two to the land bridge or the central connector. We're gonna call it CCP for the short
It's a land bridge.
So that's our dirt. We're gonna use that, it'll be another year. So we're gonna.
It's not in the way of the golf course.
No, and we're gonna seed it, so it should start looking a little better.
I'm sorry, and what is it that creates that favorable review? Please excuse my ignorance, I don't.
The core,
But what factors do they take into consideration, I guess?
the quality of the wetlands, the quality of the streams, any environmental issues. We
So like
basically,
The bottom line is they felt like this project doesn't impact either streams or wetlands to the extent, and there is a very minor, absolutely near the bayou, the last little piece. And we can even adjust the definition of the project, we can deal with mitigation in a better way, so there's ways to address that last little piece. A good review is better than a bad review, but we still have to get it across the finish
Have
line.
we addressed how to drive through the park while this is going on? Because if it's as good as Central Loop, it's gonna be, you're gonna have one bad board member up there.
Well, actually, the latest, unless it's changed, design allows the existing Memorial Drive to stay open until the new part is
Until
finished.
the concrete.
No, well, yeah, but by then you got the,
Then it shifts.
as opposed to doing a temporary asphalt or whatever, the Memorial Drive stays the same.
And, Member Beeson has made strong urging that we, if you remember what we did, on Woodway, going in and doing repairs on, Woodway to really address some really tough spots. I think one of the key things that he's voiced to me is that we need to go in Memorial Park can address some of those other potholes and buckling pavement and things like that. And we're trying to find room in the budget for this coming year to do
I'm
that.
just saying, to spend $70 million to put a hill over it, sure would be nice to have a road that you could drive the speed limit on
Yes.
through it. And since we've taken it, the city will never have the money to do it. It's a good point. We need to go ahead and I'm guessing $400,000 to $700,000 would, and if you did it right and you didn't, and you got it some way that you can contract it without bidding with 8 million engineering
Right.
specs, you could do it for a lot cheaper.
And we were successful, Robert did, in doing Woodway all the way from, my goodness, Chimney Rock to the loop by going in and doing some panel repair.
Right, just
And
do
that
it
number,
As
that number,
good as the city would be
Yeah.
doing it, but let's go ahead and fund it.
I think we're looking for something like probably, I kinda like your range, I think it's probably around $500,000 that we need to find to make that happen, I think we can.
I don't know that I should bring this up. Have we ever thought, for example, in taking this paving situation into account, into looking at, for example, the concrete that absorbs water as opposed to floating it and all of this, and looking into alternative things and what the price difference would be?
A lot of times I'll tell you, the parking lots and the roads in the park and things like that, that's looked at. But Memorial Drive, given the traffic, we'll build a great subgrade, build a good
Okay.
concrete street, and hopefully it'll last for 20 years.
I don't
But then I think I think your points are well taken, and a lot of the parking lots themselves and some of the secondary roads are totally into that.
Believe me, the water goes through all that concrete. I've found
If you give it long enough.
I have found some that it wouldn't go through.
We have, for those of you who have time, we can give you a quick update on Post Oak Boulevard as well. Interesting things happening. And if you have to leave, we have actually, Delia and her Air Corps drones has actually flown, and we're here at the Northwest Transit Center. Delia, just hold on a second. So the Northwest Transit, okay, existing that they're modifying, Metro's gonna be modifying that. They are actually going to be expanding this bridge, speaking of Metro, and creating a dedicated lane here all the way down to where the TxDOT project will start. You'll see here in just a moment. So go ahead, Robert, I'll shut up and let you lead.
We're flying southbound over Post Oak Road and the West Loop, headed south. You can see in the middle of Post Oak Road, start of the retaining wall, so that as the buses approach this dirt area, they'll raise up in the retaining wall area to get into the aerial structure that is also being constructed.
This is a TxDOT project at this point where you see the dirt.
And it's still in 2 lanes on each side, right, Robert?
The lines will remain as is, yes. We're in the middle, building the retained area. We're hitting the first column to support an aerial structure over Memorial, and you can see us having columns between
Did you hold here?
the Memorial and south of the Texan building is there are going to be more construction in this area that hasn't been completed, but they started between Woodway and Memorial and had to shut down the frontage road. This is due to be back open in the end of July, so they're doing as fast as they can that area. They appreciate that they can get the whole frontage road and get it done. And we have this detour through Memorial Park that John created, and it works pretty good. So the structural will either be on straddle bends that are over the frontage road or a T that it can be fit in with the ramps that come through. It's a mixture of those things as we continue south, getting close to west, Woodway, excuse me, Woodway. And here now we are starting not only to have the support, we're putting the beams down between the supports and getting those all ready. And a little bit further south of Woodway, keep going, it's fine. We're starting to pour a deck on top of the beams with TxDOT, and that's just a bunch of equipment. It's not cars there, it's just a bunch of equipment lined up on that area. So this area is now open, the frontage road is open all the way south. We've got the aerial structure built. Doesn't have rails on it yet, but it's almost there. As we continue south past Woodway.
How long did that section take, Robert, and how many miles or whatever, just to kind of get an idea?
It's a little over 2 miles.
Okay.
It will be 2 directional.
And it'll be less than 2 years, hopefully, in the construction period. At this point, the deck stops, and this is where it has to start to fly over to the middle. And you can see the middle widening out here. So the west loop was restriped, everybody's moved out. We have enough room to go from that deck over the
Could you back up a
freeway
little bit, Deb?
southbound and end up in the middle of the freeway.
Okay, they're going, north of the bayou, they're between the frontage road and the main lanes. South of the bayou, they're in the median. And so what they're gonna do is swing over in a S headed toward Post Oak Boulevard.
Delia has a very exciting clip here coming in as the drone goes through the freeway, so.
We're elevated in this section, probably about where these columns are, will become, again, on retained field, are being cut through the freeway.
Drop. Right here we start to drop down to the hole that was punched in over the structured area that we already had.
It's like a roller coaster ride. It was really windy yesterday.
So this walls will be built, will be coming down to grade at this
Oh,
point
wow.
here and hitting Post Oak Boulevard,
Who's flying that?
which he's trying to
It's
make
not
sure he
going
doesn't hit a column underneath there or a car.
We cleared that car, we cleared the car, it's a good 6 to 8 inches, come on.
I bet the driver was a little nervous for a sec though.
This
So am I watching this.
This is the north end of our
Well,
project.
I hope you see that the idea is in 2004, when the freeway was redesigned and reconstructed, the freeway was widened in this location, designed for this very purpose, come down, and we will be at the level of Post Oak Boulevard, under the overpass. We'll have a signal, and when it's our turn, we'll turn right and head for Post Oak Boulevard.
So it's 2 lanes,
Yes,
still
sir.
in the middle of the 610 is 2 lanes.
Yes, sir,
And the only entrance and exit goes back to Post Oak Boulevard.
that's correct. And it's only used by
Post Oak
How
buses.
do they,
Post Oak
how do they get from Post Oak Boulevard to the cut in the north and south lanes? How do they get here off of Post Oak?
That is, come underneath the freeway, as you call it, make a left-hand turn.
As the left turn movements come off Post Oak to go under the freeway to come
Go
around to the
under and then
northbound
come
side.
back in?
No, it'll turn right in the middle.
As they do that, there is actually no traffic that you'll see underneath the structure, so they'll make an early left. Instead of going all the way,
Instead of going all the way
they
to
come in
the,
halfway through the columns and
And
hit
turn
this
in.
opening.
and they will turn in, and they will return the same way?
It would turn the same way at the same phase
Same
of the
spot.
intersection, yes.
All right, so there's nothing on the south side of 610?
Nothing.
On the east side, I should say.
That's
the
correct.
east side of 610,
Right.
there's nothing. Okay.
That's correct.
In fact, there's gonna be an improvement with an acceleration lane that they're gonna build for
There's
the
what?
acceleration lane for the northbound frontage on the east side. It's gonna be built as part of this
Just
project.
a simple widening of the existing frontage road north of
There'll
Post
be a
Oak Boulevard.
The U-turn that comes in will be extended to go and accelerate, have more room to go northbound and go faster.
Within the existing right of way.
You're talking about the buses, not
No,
The cars.
Cars.
the cars are gonna come over to the east side.
yes, sir.
Cars that go underneath the freeway now to go northbound frontage road
Right,
are gonna have that U-turn merging with them.
right.
That U-turn will be easier after this is all done.
Because TxDOT's gonna give you, gonna extend that U-turn lane as it comes around.
Okay, you're talking about the flip around.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, if we could, Delia, hit, Post Boulevard.
So that road, that hole that you saw there's gonna be underground drainage, cause there's a hole out in the freeway. This is the north end of our project that you've seen that's pretty well completed as we approach Uptown Park Boulevard and Hollyhurst. Our first steel structure was put in, as well as the glass structure in the last month. We can see the steel structure on the outbound side here that doesn't have the glass in it. The inside, or eastbound, westbound lanes have the glass on it, and it just got completed. We have 5 structures on the north section. Only one with glass, everything else is just the steel put in, and the concrete work that has to support the glass is being done this week and next week.
Delia, stop a moment. You saw just back there a little bit, some trees that didn't look very good. It had some irrigation, and trees dropped their leaves. They're alive and well, but they'll bud back out. And we're really looking at putting some electronic sensors will tell us when there's not a flow rate, because when you see something drop its leaves, it's too late. I mean, it didn't kill it, but it sure looks bad.
Sure, yeah. You wait a while, it will.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, coming up here on Garrettson and Four Oaks, there's a structure that was just placed on both northbound and southbound sides. And we're working on getting concrete work and the glass work.
Any of
started.
you have, if you want to go out and check out the station, the Uptown Park Station has got the glass on it, et cetera. It's kind of interesting.
Passing the BHP building here. We're
Another
working
station.
on all the traffic signals, trying to get them, the temporary out and the permanent installed. This is a new one, so it will come online with that. The lane closure on the right-hand side here is for the building, Bitterstein building. And we're gonna try to get that improved at this point with better pedestrian movement and opening up as they have a little bit at the intersection.
San Felipe Station structure is there.
Which one?
I was just saying, San Felipe,
Northbound.
well, yeah, down is there. You can't see this, if you freeze it just a moment, but I am proud to say that tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, I'm meeting our landscape contractor out on the street, and we're getting ready to plant flowers and grass and turf from San Felipe down to Guilford. Will be the first piece, and then we'll probably be back up north of San Felipe and get that
You
done.
can see the steel edging that we're gonna put mulch in and for the tree roots, and then this is the band, start of the band right here for
So the
the.
color band that we've
ribbons.
done historically is kind of what we're coming back with. And there'll be also landscaping in the median, the 4-foot median between the dedicated bus lanes. Another thing Robert's working on, if you could freeze here just a moment, is that we don't want people to confuse the left-hand turn lane and the bus lane. And Robert, we're gonna
Put a 10-inch wide, 5-inch high, mountable type curb, but it will be a curb instead of buttons that we have on the north end that we designed, but we've also experienced already a couple being busted off by a truck hitting them too bad. And so we like the curb better, and it'll be cleaner look on it. So we're gonna put a mountable curb that will have slots in it for drainage.
But we'll tell people, this is not where you should be.
But will not be painted yellow.
Would not be painted yellow. There may have to be a 4-inch stripe on the street side of the mountable curb.
Yellow or white?
City is
It
going
would have to be
is
white,
being
wouldn't it?
asked if we can get away with white.
I think it would be anyway though, right? Because when you can't cross into something, it's a solid white line.
But that's a
Line to the
nice
pole.
That doesn't
choice.
make anybody useless.
Well, while it doesn't, at least you've given them warning so that they don't sue you when they ruin their wheels or whatever. Just saying.
Yeah, don't drive over curbs.
And it'll be reflective tape that would be necessary. We're trying not to paint the curb.
A green fence, both sides, headlights,
Beautiful.
probably installed since the last board meeting.
Beautiful.
Just want to beat the guy that's flying the drone.
It's kind of
That's
short.
John, you've already met.
So you can see we have good dirt, and we're continuing the landscaping to the south as we approach Vassar Way here. Trees have been planted, construction fence went up across the street for static product. We do have to paint our noses on the ends in the intersections yellow. City requirement. 1 inch curbs there instead of 6 inch curbs, probably we'll put cobblestone in there to reinforce it, so it'll be a pretty solid little island, because it'll be rolled over a lot.
You can see the yellow painting here on, yeah. The interesting thing, out in the median, before you go into the platform, there will be, if you will, a safer area. Anytime there is a place where you are safer, is the same kind of paving that we're using on the corners. So we hope people will understand, I gotta get to the brick and I'll be okay. This is replacement trees.
We have some trees, did you want to talk about?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you could freeze this a minute, you notice that you've seen some trees that are, don't look like the rest. We noticed it too, did an investigation, and the bottom line, I think in the best of all worlds, somebody that was in charge of the project left. We did order some additional trees and even ordered some that could be spaded trees. And all of a sudden, those people started planting the spaded trees. They weren't the trees that met our specs. And so all of these trees that you see here that are thin, and you'll see these all the way down really to almost the south end, are gonna be removed and replaced sometime in the month of
Next 2
June.
weeks. The intersection of, last time we were here, we have our 52-foot poles back up. We don't have the arms on them at this time, but it's coming, and we're trying to get that intersection ready for turning it over from temporary to permanent power. The medians in here are a little bit less done. They're not ready for the final dirt. We're getting the rest of the light, irrigation and the electrical part for our lighting done, and so that we can get these ready for landscaping. Williams Tower did come in, and they started work on their frontage, to redo their frontage, and we're getting that done. We go south, we've completed trees in this area that are good trees, and we're getting close to where TxDOT has asked us to stop work at the arches. We might be able to go forward in a couple weeks when they institute their next traffic control plan and complete between the arches here in the intersection that we have as a temporary signal that currently is bagged up at
Can
this
you-
point here.
Yeah, can you, Robert, tell them what TxDOT's trying to do right here?
So TxDOT is completing Richmond east-west with what they call a fast track during the weekend. They have completed all the middle lanes and the eastbound lanes. What they have left to do is the westbound, and then connect into it between where Chick-fil-A is working and where they've completed here. As they do that, they will have the southbound lanes in Richmond done, and they will move all the traffic northbound over to the southbound lanes. And basically south of Richmond, there will be a lane coming off the toll road. There's only one lane that comes off the toll road where it splits up on West Park. You either go straight or to the left. That lane will go all the way up to Richmond and dump into Richmond northbound. The frontage road is one lane southbound, and that will continue to go southbound and split when they get that work done in that area. So it'll be that condition for some time until TxDOT can then use this whole area from the new pavement, they'll complete this too, connection. This whole area is where they will finish the roadway and pavement for us down below, and then start their construction of their new ramp that's coming through here. And this is going to hopefully accelerate the contractor to meet our goals and the timing of his work, because the door's been flung open for him to continue that work without being impeded by existing traffic as they moved it all the way over.
And I have to, Robert has been working patiently in the back rooms with the engineers and working very patiently and cooperatively trying to get this. This is a big effort, this is a big thing. It's going to probably make it possible that we will be able to meet the schedule that we need to be able to get underneath, go across Richmond and underneath the West Park. Okay, Delia?
Delia has given us another ride.
Here
You
it
can
comes.
see, as this is the southbound again, how we preserved the 30 feet, 33 feet between the columns here
And that was done again back when the West Park was built.
a decade ago. And so this is where they would do, and the only thing that's missing is when you get up the slope here, is jump over the toll road that's coming around the curve along that wall. And so we build a little structure over that, and we end up on the left-hand side of the southbound frontage road at West Park, where the cars can turn, or buses, excuse me, can turn right onto West Park, or come eastbound, turn left into our busway. That's the intersection. So we're riding like a bus would going back down.
We'll be widening West Park maybe 5 feet along in this section
In the last
and give a continuous lane.
last 2 weeks, the TxDOT has finished the decking on their T-ramp. They don't have the rails on yet. We also started pouring concrete at the transit center here last week and continuing on right today. You can see these columns, this is where the buses will loop around as they come in on the ground. Should we come in the ground this way and then go out back that way. Third level come off the deck up here.
So what's being poured right now are local buses and BRT buses. And the upper level that the T-ramp's tying into is where the Sugarland regional commuter buses will be coming in, as shown here in this shot. So you can see there is an enormous, Delia, have you got just pictures after this? Enormous amount of things going on. I think it's a great shot, kind of show what is coming, what this corridor does, ties into a regional system. This is where TxDOT's portion of the project really begins here at the dirt. Some good shots, I think, that kind of present the project a little bit more. And I will tell you, it's kind of fun to see the freeway opened up like this and see this construction going on. Couple of things to point out. We had the ligustrums that were the thing that screened parking lots, and that takes up somewhere like 3 or 4 feet by the time they get mature. We came back in and with a green fence here, we're growing Confederate jasmine on it. It's irrigated, and so along parking lots, particularly as like Tanglewood's parking lot or up on the north end, we have this green fence installed. More of our lighting is installed here. Here's just a quick shot of what we're doing with our color ribbons, our landscaping that we'll be putting in the next few weeks. A great shot of the transit shelter, the bus station at Uptown. No, this is at Four Oaks Place, I guess, because of, yeah, that's exactly where we are. You can park right over here if you're interested, over kind of right in front of the condos, and walk across. Very interesting construction, very simple, but I think it's a pretty effective design. That black plastic there is covering a stainless steel leaning rail. There's no place here for people to sit down and take a nap. You can lean, but the objective here is to get on the bus. These columns will be clad in a material, it's over here against the wall. If somebody help me with GFRC, something like that. Robert, what is it?
Reinforced
concrete, fiber reinforced, whatever, concrete. It's gonna, has the same pattern that our pylon lighting has, the lattice work. So, it's coming along. Robert, what's your schedule for 7 of or 14 of the stations? The one down at Richmond is more involved with tech stop, so what's the schedule for the other 14?
By the late summer, get it all done. Last thing will be this cladding and the installation of lights and things of that nature. John's been pushing me, I just got a schedule, I looked at it, I have some slack time that I'm gonna have to crank up. I will try to beat that as much as possible to get these things going.
You're fabulous.
How
Thank
high
you.
are is the surface of the station above the surface of the road?
The edge will be 14 inches above the bus lane, constant, and so you could roll from.
It is not at this moment. That is the foundation, if you will, for the station. There'll be an additional pour to bring it up, and then there'll be a layer of pavers on top of that.
So is that just solid concrete, or is it fill and then concrete and slab? I've been
Well,
on
because
that
That's
lot of
a
times.
concrete
Just
slab with a lot of steel in it because of the turning motion of the lift of the structure. So this would be the same thing as your building pad. We'll lift it up, and then we'll put a final course of pavers. This will be granite pavers, this will be the incline, it'll be concrete pavers. When we're done, we'll probably have about 7 inches, not this much, but about that's it, of this showing on this side. 14 inches above here, which is down to 5 inches probably above that.
And
But
if you'll point out,
The ADA slope,
the,
the
this
wheelchair.
right here will be Metro's ticket vending equipment, things like that, in a nice little designed container. Down on the far end, we will have cabinets for both electrical and for communications. The communication box is actually air conditioned. And it will also have the map for the transit system. So in the end, that will be a little bit more contained than the open end. We really, we moved, at one time there was thought that all those transformers, the electrical panel and the control box would be in the median, and we kind of called it the refrigerator cemetery. And what we've done is move them off, made them part of the architecture of the station. And at each of these stations, there'll be essentially a transformer. There may be 1 or 2 stations that have a switch as well as the transformer. So we think that's cleaned up a lot. All right?
And the good news, CenterPoint just sent us an email saying that they're ready this next week to start coming out and placing our transformer and getting our primary circuits ready so we can power up our own lights and not have to beg and steal from our neighbors to get this going, not steal.
Whatever works, whatever works.
And
I'm
Robert
not
makes,
silly.
Robert, that's not that email is about as significant an email we've received in a long time. That means CenterPoint's about to come out, power us up, put in the transformers. That means a lot of things about controlling our pylon lights, our median lights, our stations, communications. It's a
It's a big
huge,
deal.
it's a huge deal. So congratulations, Robert.
Congratulations, Robert. Quick
go ahead.
question, sorry. So the ADA accessible, I see the ramp over here, right,
Mhm.
as it slopes up. But then how will it, because I don't see anything over here, Robert, so how does it, is it just opened up, or how is that going to?
How do you get from
how do
here
you get-
down to grade?
If you're in a wheelchair, well, more importantly, how do you get where, right? Because you've got the trees on the one side, and then you've got, and maybe I'm not understanding this properly.
So you roll off the bus, you're up on the platform, you
Mhm.
come down at a less than 5% grade.
Yeah,
Although we're gonna have a rail on it anyhow, it's not mandated, it's needed, and you get down to this area, you're in the crosswalk. I don't know if there's a picture,
okay,
another
it
picture
goes
you
into
do,
the crosswalk.
but the
Yeah.
crosswalks are 12 feet
Yeah.
coming across here. That is a refuge area that you can wait until you get the walk signal to go either side.
Perfect.
So basically,
Thank
the
you.
ADA path and the path for everyone else is the same.
Yes.
Correct.
Excellent, thank you, Robert.
This is the pouring of the concrete out at the transit center. So, we're doing things we don't normally do.
That's so awesome. Congratulations.
Okay.
In this passing, I will say that the chief executive officer, his engineering, his planning director, and some other members came by and visited with us for a couple hours and wanted a discussion about what BRT is and what it looks like here, and had a very interesting conversation.
Who was this?
Capital Metro Austin.
Oh.
This is not typical BRT, it's paint on the street.
Yeah,
This is light rail, rubber tire. Related.
fantastic.
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman, we have
so,
nothing else.
I'll recess the Uptown meeting, reconvene the TIRZ meeting, and adjourn the TIRZ meeting unless anyone has any.
One more thing. We
Oh,
have a book.
I'm sorry, Bill.
Yes, and Bob will tell you a little bit about the book, but we just want to hand this to you before you leave. Bob?
Yeah, we've seen, of course, the beauty of the boulevard, but it's nice to know it's nationally recognized. So this is Alexander Garvin. He's a professor of Yale. He's also been deputy commissioner of housing in New York City. He is a commissioner of planning in New York City. He's done a wide variety of things. But anyway, he's written a book, came out about a month ago. It's called The Heart of the City, Creating Vibrant Downtowns. And he has Uptown in it. And he has quite a few quotes that have been tabbed for you. An example of one of which I'll read right now, where he says, "I believe that by 2030, Post Oak Boulevard will be a shopping street rivaling Chicago's North Michigan Avenue, and perhaps even Boulevard Haussmann in Paris." And so I just want to make you aware that we're actually getting national recognition for the work here.
That's the cause.
I mean, come on. Those little golf claps are not enough. We are making history, people.
You want me to buy the book, put my name in it, right?
That's right.
Thank you so much.
That's
Great.
fabulous. Thank you very much.